Beyond the veils of blue mist, where even nascent soul cultivators dared not trespass lightly, something stirred. The ancient formation of Bitter Bamboo Island, silent for tens of thousands of years, trembled, as if sensing the approach of a presence it had not felt since antiquity. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. When the scarlet flame flood dragon lunged toward him, Han Li merely smiled. His sleeve trembled faintly, and a streak of crimson light slipped forth, vanishing into the air without leaving even the slightest ripple. In the next breath, thunder roared behind him. A pair of silver-white wings unfurled upon his back, radiant and majestic. In a blaze of argent brilliance, Han Li dissolved into light just as the dragon's scarlet claws tore through the space where he had stood. The flood dragon had not yet recovered from the shock of striking empty air when a soft yet piercing shriek sliced through the heavens. Swift as a phantom and silent as falling frost, a translucent red needle appeared at his flank, poised to pierce straight through his skull. It was the needle Han Li had refined from crystallized demon core, subtle, lethal, unseen. At that moment, only the flames coiling around the dragon's body stood between him and death. When the scarlet flame flood dragon finally caught sight of the needle hovering beside him, terror flooded his heart. There was no time at all. He twisted his head with desperate haste, yet he was far too slow. Hiss! A cry of agony tore from his throat. Blood streamed freely as he clutched his face with a claw. A clean, smoking hole had been punctured through his flesh. The needle was razor-sharp, but not powerful enough to grievously wound a creature of his rank. Thus, the instant it pierced through Han Li's mind stirred. The needle swelled several-fold in size within the wound, violently expanding and multiplying the devastation from within. Before the flood dragon could erupt into madness, thunder boomed once more behind him. Han Li reappeared. With a calm sweep of his arm, a 3-meter-long arc of golden swordlight shot forth, cleaving through the sky as it descended upon the dragon. The dragon's expression darkened. Ignoring the searing pain in his face, his tail shimmered with crimson radiance and swelled several times in size. With reckless fury, he lashed it toward Han Li, intending to crush him outright. Han Li frowned faintly. As expected of a seasoned spiritual beast, it reacted with astonishing swiftness. Unlike ordinary human cultivators, who would have been utterly helpless before his lightning-swift ambushes, this creature adapted in an instant. With a mere thought, the golden swordlight shifted mid-flight and slashed toward the dragon's massive tail. It cleaved through the red aura without resistance. The flood dragon's heart trembled. Hastily, he channeled the entirety of his spiritual power into the scales along his tail. They crystallized, hardening into gleaming red facets like forged rubies. Bang! Golden and scarlet brilliance collided in a blinding eruption. The radiance was so intense that Han Li had to shut his eyes. Only after activating the bright sight spirit eyes could he discern the outcome. The golden sword, condensed from several of his flying blades, had not fully severed the tail. It had split through the crystalline scales and carved a third of the way through before being halted firmly by bone. Han Li's gaze sharpened. His hands formed an incantation seal, commanding the sword to withdraw, but the dragon's tail clamped down with immense force, trapping it in place. "Let us see how long you endure without your magic treasure." The flood dragon roared with wild laughter. His jaws parted, and in a flash of crimson light, a pearl the size of a fist burst forth. His demon core. Han Li's eyes narrowed instantly. Knowing he stood at a disadvantage, the dragon steeled his resolve. By sacrificing the demon core's direct defense, he sought to imprison Han Li's sword and launch a desperate counteroffensive. Han Li's expression twisted in apparent shock. He let out a sharp shout, and his figure blurred, then split into 3 identical forms. The flood dragon faltered. Before he could determine which was real, all 3 Han Lis flicked their sleeves in unison, each releasing a meter-long streak of golden swordlight. Alarmed beyond measure, the dragon could only thrust his demon core toward the central strike, while sweeping his glowing claws to intercept the attacks on either side. He had witnessed the terrifying sharpness of Han Li's swords, yet he could not discern illusion from reality. If the demon core blocked the true blade, his life would be preserved. If not, his claws, harder even than his tail, might buy him a fleeting moment to counterattack. Such thoughts flashed through his mind. Then came a deafening crash. In a burst of red light, the demon core collided with the central sword light and was hurled back 10 meters. So it was the middle blade. Relief surged through him, but in that same instant, the other two sword streaks flared with resplendent brilliance. A searing pain exploded through his claws. They were severed cleanly. The sword lights did not pause. They drove onward toward his body. The flood dragon shrieked, his form erupting with light as he attempted to evade. Yet beneath him purple flames bloomed. A lotus of ghostly violet fire unfolded frost, spreading in crystalline layers that momentarily bound his movements. That single heartbeat of delay was enough. The two golden sword lights blazed like twin suns. They circled his neck. Swoosh! His massive head fell. The thick, iron-hard scales along his neck offered no resistance whatsoever. The other two, Han Li's, flickered and vanished in streaks of azure light. Within his sleeve, Han Li had long since formed another incantation seal, pouring the majority of his spiritual power into the twin flying swords. The terrifying might of auric essence was fully unleashed, lending them unstoppable force. As the severed head tumbled, Han Li pointed once more. Thunder cracked. Dense bolts of lightning erupted from the swords, weaving themselves into a radiant net that enveloped the corpse. From the stump of the dragon's neck, a flash of red light shot forth a miniature flood dragon spirit. Fleeing in frantic terror, it slammed directly into the lightning net. As it tried to change direction, the net contracted, ensnaring it completely. Panic filled the dragon's soul. It spat strands of scarlet flame in a desperate attempt to burn through its prison. Han Li only snorted coldly. The net shrank to a radius of 3 meters. Unlike nascent souls, he had no intention of destroying this spirit. A small jade bottle appeared in his hand. With a beckoning gesture, countless threads of lightning unraveled inward. Despite its struggles, the dragon's soul found no path of escape. Soon a fist-sized golden sphere formed around it, sealing it entirely. Han Li tipped the jade bottle forward. A mist of white light flowed out and drew the golden sphere within. Only then did his expression soften. Though I have only skimmed the surface of the spirit apparition technique, it proves remarkably effective in battle, he murmured. No wonder Gold Mist Mountain treasures it as their legacy art. He retrieved the golden sword from the dragon's tail and collected the corpse and severed head into a specially prepared storage pouch. As for the masterless Grade 8 demon core, he carefully placed it within a jade box before turning his gaze toward the surrounding sea of flame and drifting demon clouds. Without the dragon's magic power to sustain them, they gradually dispersed. Taking advantage of the clearing battlefield, Han Li swept his spiritual sense outward. His brow furrowed. The core formation cultivators were faring reasonably well. Their numbers overwhelmed the Grade 7 flood dragons. But their nascent soul leader was in grave peril, pressed to the brink of defeat. An icy gleam flashed in Han Li's eyes. Grade 8 demon beasts are seldom encountered. I might as well take the second one. Azure lightning flickered across his body as he prepared to intervene. At that moment, Monarch Soul Divergence's voice rang urgently in his mind. Youngster Han, do not let greed cloud your judgment. I sense others approaching. If you linger, escape will become impossible. The South Sea sect has expended tremendous resources to hunt these dragons. They will not allow you to leave so easily. With a Grade 8 core, startled, Han Li extended his spiritual sense and confirmed it. The South Sea sect has already arrived. Swift indeed. What a pity. Then we depart. Before the last traces of demon cloud faded, Han Li vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, the blue Grade 8 flood dragon sensed the fall of its scarlet counterpart. Fury drove it into reckless assault, plunging the already strained nascent soul leader into immediate crisis. The large man cursed inwardly, preparing to flee. But at that instant, two streaks of light pierced the horizon. Two squads of cultivators raced forward at full speed. The blue flood dragon's heart sank. Suppressing his rage, he released a fierce howl and plunged into the sea below. The remaining flood dragons followed suit. Yet the cultivators would not permit easy escape. They pressed the attack, entangling their foes once more. The battle grew even more savage. Hanli paid it no heed. He was already a distant streak of azure lightning vanishing into the vast ocean. Somewhere within its depths, he intended to find an uninhabited spirit island, and there begin refining Monarch Soul Divergence's puppet. Hanli had long since purchased a detailed map of the boundless sea. Avoiding the routes most cultivators frequented, he charted a lonely course through desolate waters. A full month later, he discovered what he sought: an uninhabited island adrift beneath the vast heavens. The island spanned barely 20 square kilometers. At its heart lay a modest spirit vein, stretching roughly 4 kilometers, quiet, unremarkable, yet steady in its pulse. Had it lain closer to the mainland, some minor clan would surely have claimed it. Yet no small sect would dare establish itself amid demon-beast-infested seas, and cultivators of greater clans would deem such a spirit vein beneath notice. Moreover, the island lay far from established sea routes, severed from all traces of human activity. To Hanli, it was ideal. He descended upon a small mountain at the island's center. With a flick of thought, his flying sword shot forth, carving the summit into a smooth, level platform. Then, with a sweep of his sleeve, he summoned the hidden Fortune Mansion. In a heartbeat, the miniature structure expanded, unfolding into an exquisite immortal abode of refined elegance. Ever cautious, Hanli established not one but two concealment formations. The first cloaked the mansion itself. The second enveloped the entire mountain. Soon dense white mist gathered, stretching 5 kilometers in every direction, shrouding the area in veiled silence. Only then did he begin his arrangements. His medicinal plants and spirit beasts were placed carefully into their respective chambers. The armored earth dragon was sealed beneath layers of restriction before being confined to a beast room. The numerous rare materials he had accumulated were stored in a hidden chamber. Once everything was settled, Hanli entered the chamber and removed the bamboo tube from his back, setting it before him. "These materials suffice for only one attempt," he said calmly. "If any error occurs during refinement, there will be no time to procure substitutes. Nor can I estimate the likelihood of success." Monarch Soul Divergence replied evenly, "I am aware. Before you begin, I will explain each stage of the refinement in detail and test your understanding repeatedly. Only when you have mastered the entire process will you proceed. First, examine this jade slip. It contains general information regarding my puppet." With a soft bang, a white jade slip flew from the bamboo tube into Hanli's hand. "Since Senior has considered matters so thoroughly, I am at ease," Hanli said with a nod. He seated himself and immersed his spiritual sense into the jade slip. Time flowed like silent water. Hanli's expression shifted astonishment, then exhilaration, and finally profound shock. After an indeterminate span, he exhaled slowly and withdrew his spiritual sense, though he remained seated, mind wandering through intricate calculations. A quarter-hour passed before he opened his eyes. "Impressive," he murmured. "If successfully refined, this puppet's might will be unparalleled. Given sufficient spirit stones, it could rival a late nascent soul cultivator. However, there is something unclear to me." Monarch Soul Divergence responded at once. "Since I have already entrusted the formula to you, there is no need for restraint. Speak freely." Hanli frowned slightly. "Then I shall be blunt. In every puppet formula, I have studied the higher the puppet's grade, the more powerful the soul required to fuse with it. Yet a demon beast's soul seems insufficient for a construct of this magnitude. Even the grade 8 Scarlet Flood Dragon's soul would fall short. Moreover, Senior has never once mentioned the matter of a soul. Do you have another plan in mind?" Monarch Soul Divergence chuckled softly. "So that is your concern. I too encountered this dilemma during my research. I intended to clarify it. Without understanding this, you could not refine the puppet with confidence. Hanli gave a dry laugh. Senior jests. To unleash this puppet's true potential would require the soul of a grade 9 demon beast. I find it difficult to believe such a solution exists. Despite his outward composure, Han Li remained vigilant. He would not abandon caution, not even for someone who had been both mentor and companion. Monarch Soul Divergence's voice deepened. There is no need for any demon beast soul. When the time comes, use mine. Han Li's composure faltered. Senior's soul. What? Do you consider my soul inferior to that of a grade 9 demon beast? Certainly not, Han Li replied slowly. Senior once possessed late nascent soul cultivation and mastered the great development techniques. Your spiritual sense rivals even that of a deity transformation cultivator. But do you not intend to reincarnate? Once your soul fuses with the puppet, your sense of self will be lost. A bold laugh rang out. Reincarnate? Of course I intend to. But who can guarantee that in the next life I will walk the path of cultivation again? Han Li's eyes narrowed. If I understand correctly, Senior plans to fuse your soul with the puppet while preserving the possibility of reincarnation. Is there truly such a technique? Precisely, Monarch Soul Divergence replied. Trapped for millennia through the soul attachment technique, I had little to do but research. Though I failed in creating a method for souls to directly control puppets through spiritual power alone, I discovered something else, a technique for genuine soul division. He paused before continuing. This is not ordinary soul splitting. It is true division. When the time comes, I shall divide my soul into two halves. One half, bearing the majority of my soul's power, will fuse with the puppet. The other half, containing my memories and emotions, will disperse into the cycle of reincarnation. Han Li was visibly startled. But dividing one's soul, can such a method be safe? Rest assured, Monarch Soul Divergence replied calmly. Only the power of the soul will be divided. The cycle of reincarnation will remain intact. In any case, the strength of my soul would dissipate naturally upon death. I see. Han Li considered this carefully before nodding. Then I am reassured. Good. Since no doubts remain, I will now explain the refinement process for each component. The puppet's body consists of over a dozen core parts. The required materials are as follows. Han Li's spirit was roused. He focused entirely on the explanation. Days turned into weeks. He seldom left the hidden chamber, delegating the mansion's affairs to his towering ape puppets. They tended the medicinal gardens and spirit beasts with mechanical precision. The dozen six-winged frost centipedes were fed increasing amounts of rainbow skirt grass. In a sudden inspiration, Han Li began feeding them snow soul pills as well. Since the pills enhanced his purple apex flames, they might likewise strengthen the centipede's glacial kai. The results delighted him. Though it took him 4 months to refine a single snow soul pill, the centipedes required only 1 pill each to display marked improvement. Their frost ki deepened in potency, growing denser and sharper. Han Li reserved only a few pills for himself, leaving the rest to the centipedes under the ape's supervision. As for the gold-devouring beetles, he continued feeding them rainbow skirt grass. Though they exhibited no change, he remained patient. One day, after completing refinement of a puppet component, Han Li arranged several materials before him according to Monarch Soul Divergence's instructions. His expression turned peculiar. You intend to incorporate these into the puppet? He asked, brows furrowed. That is correct, Monarch Soul Divergence replied calmly. I conceived of this only recently. It will elevate the puppet's power by an entire tier. Han Li pointed to 2 particular items. In the past, you mentioned refining devil essence diamonds into a weapon that I understand. But these other 2, I have yet to comprehend their purpose. The items were the silver chains once used to restrain the cadaver demon, and the unassuming stone tablet fragments he had discovered within the abyss of devilish core. Monarch Soul Divergence spoke slowly. When you first acquired the devil essence diamonds, I already devised a method for their use. Though famed as the sole material for forging a devil dragon blade, they may instead refine another devil Dao treasure, one suitable as the puppet's ultimate killing move. As for the chains, when you mentioned they could withstand flying swords infused with auric essence, my interest was piqued. Though their origin remains unclear, they contain traces of tailstar silver sufficient to form a defensive layer for the puppet. And those stone fragments? His tone grew heavy. I only realized their true nature a few days ago. Monarch Soul Divergence's voice finally broke the silence, deep and deliberate. Have you ever heard of divine flow clay? Han Li's gaze fell upon the unremarkable stone fragments, and surprise flickered across his face. Of course. It is also called illusory paste, a rare substance used in refining intricate magic tools. It is said that with sufficient mastery, one may shape it into virtually any artifact. Most extraordinary of all, it can restore itself from damage. But this dull, unassuming thing, I was told divine flow clay is white as snow and smooth as polished jade. Youngster Han, do not be startled. This is indeed divine flow clay, Monarch Soul Divergence replied evenly. However, ancient cultivators once blended it with other materials and refined it into a peculiar variant they called flexile, spirit jade. Fewer than a dozen people in this world could recognize it in its altered state. I once came across records of it in an ancient cultivator's abode, but the memory had long faded. Had you not mentioned something similar earlier, I might never have recalled it. Flexile spirit jade, Han Li echoed thoughtfully. How does it differ from divine flow clay? Monarch Soul Divergence gave a faint chuckle. Have you not already observed it yourself? Not only does this material recover from deformation, it can also absorb the magic power contained within a cultivator's strike. If attacked by a technique condensed from spiritual power, the damage inflicted will be reduced by more than half. Its sole weakness lies in direct physical attacks. It provides no additional fortification against brute force. Even so, its value is no less than auric essence. A faint smile curved Han Li's lips. So that is the case. Senior intends to weave the divine flow clay into the puppet's body. Is it not obvious? Monarch Soul Divergence replied proudly. Once the puppet's body is fused with tailstar silver and divine flow clay, it will require no external defensive treasure. In this world, scarcely anyone will be able to destroy it with ease. Then we shall proceed, Han Li said without hesitation. Yes, but for now set it aside. We will refine the remaining components first. If all goes smoothly, the parts should be completed within a year. Very well. With a sweep of azure light from his sleeve, Han Li gathered the materials away. He then patted his storage pouch and retrieved 8 jade boxes, each containing different rare substances, and began refining yet another crucial component. To a cultivator, a year passed like a fleeting breath. During that time, Han Li devoted himself almost entirely to puppet refinement. Meanwhile, his 6-winged frost centipedes, faithfully consuming a snow soul pill each month, underwent a sudden and dramatic evolution. After molting, their bodies expanded several-fold. A new pair of wings sprouted from their backs, crystalline and sharp. Their speed soared, their movements grew incomparably agile, and the chill radiating from them deepened to a bone-piercing intensity. Yet after this transformation, the snow soul pills lost their efficacy. Their next evolution lay far in the future. One day within the hidden chamber, Han Li sat cross-legged with closed eyes. Before him floated a dazzling silver puppet. It shimmered faintly, suspended in mid-air. From each of Han Li's fingers extended a golden thread. Each thread connected to a different portion of the puppet's body. A bamboo tube hovered 1 foot above its head, emitting a faint green glow. Time drifted by. At last Han Li's fingers stilled. His expression shifted subtly before his eyes slowly opened. "It appears flawless," he murmured, gazing at the puppet with restrained joy. "The fusion is complete. I did not expect the final assembly to proceed so smoothly." From within the bamboo tube came Monarch Soul Divergence's voice. "This puppet was my life's research. With my guidance, error was impossible. Since all else is complete, we may now begin the soul fusion." Han Li's brows knit slightly. Will Senior reconsider? This is your first time using the soul division technique. Should anything go wrong, your chance at reincarnation may be gravely affected. And can your soul truly endure such division? A soft chuckle echoed. I have devoted the greater part of my life to puppetry. I would gladly allow my soul to become one with it. Even without this technique, the end of my lifespan approaches. I have already imparted to you the remaining layers of the great development technique. I hope you will carry it forward and pass it to future generations. Han Li's expression tightened. He exhaled slowly. Since Senior has resolved himself, I will say no more. I wish you success. A hearty laugh rang out. Suddenly green light burst forth from the bamboo tube, splitting it in two. Within emerged a small silhouette suffused with golden radiance. It was a miniature puppet, only several inches tall, exquisitely crafted from a material neither wood nor metal. Its form resembled a refined middle-aged man. Green light glowed within its eyes. It seated itself cross-legged and began chanting an incantation. A speck of green light slipped from its mouth, expanding into a fist-sized sphere before floating back to hover above it. Han Li parted his lips slightly, yet no words emerged. The chant quickened. The green radiance intensified. Han Li narrowed his eyes and activated his bright sight spirit eyes. Suddenly, a scream of agony erupted. The hidden chamber trembled violently. Before Han Li's astonished gaze, the green sphere split in two. The larger mass of light streaked toward the silver puppet. The smaller flickered weakly and returned to the miniature man's mouth. As the radiance faded, the tiny figure reappeared, but its head drooped, and the light in its eyes dimmed significantly. Han Li acted at once. With a flick of his fingers, he forced the silver puppet's mouth open. Silver threads shot forth, drawing in the larger green sphere. The puppet began to tremble violently, silver light surging across its surface. Han Li's face darkened. He spat out a stream of purple apex flames. The violet fire struck the puppet, and with a thunderous crack, dense frost spread across its body, sealing it firmly in place. Only then did Han Li allow himself a breath of relief, though worry lingered in his gaze as he looked toward the miniature man. So, this is the sensation of dividing one's soul. Monarch soul divergence's weak laughter echoed. How extraordinary! I suspect I am the only cultivator in the world to experience such a thing. Senior, are you well? Han Li asked gravely. Do not worry, Monarch soul divergence replied, his tone oddly exhilarated despite its frailty. Though I will not last long, I can endure for half a month. Quickly complete the fusion. Allow me to witness its true might before I depart. Han Li nodded. Before that, I shall use a soul-concentrating talisman to stabilize your remaining soul. With a wave of his sleeve, a crimson talisman flew forth. A soul-concentrating talisman, rare indeed, Monarch soul divergence murmured. A pity to expend it on one about to perish. The talisman glowed scarlet as Han Li flicked his wrist. It struck the miniature puppet, bursting into red mist that was swiftly absorbed. I obtained it from the storage pouch of a nascent soul cultivator I once slew, Han Li replied calmly. Precious though it may be, I did not labor to acquire it. It is best put to use. Monarch soul divergence's voice strengthened slightly. Not bad. I feel much improved. But do not expect repayment. I merely return the favor for your past guidance. Monarch soul divergence snorted lightly. The two halves of the bamboo tube flew together once more, enclosing the weakened figure within. The tube drifted back to Han Li's side. Without further words, Han Li beckoned to the frozen puppet. Purple light flashed. The frost melted away. He sat once more cross-legged and struck the crown of his head. In a flash of azure brilliance, his nascent soul emerged and flew toward the puppet. 3 months later, Han Li departed the desolate island in a streak of azure light, vanishing across the heavens. So, bitter Bamboo Island lay in the nearby seas of Great Jin, a small and obscure isle perpetually shrouded in blue mist. Its master was Old Man Bitter Bamboo. Though little known across the mainland, Several eccentric mid- and late nascent soul cultivators regarded him with quiet apprehension. Among overseas cultivators, however, his reputation was formidable. Though only at mid-nascent soul stage, he commanded 365 glacial bitter bamboo swords, each forged from the divine mulberry tree that stood at the island's heart. With them he was ranked alongside the three great overseas cultivators. The divine mulberry tree served as the core of a grand formation composed of over 10,000 trees. Ancient and wondrous, its reputation had endured for tens of thousands of years. Even a late nascent soul cultivator who intruded upon it would find their strength greatly suppressed. Yet on this day, an uninvited guest appeared beyond the blue mist. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.